Hi folks, you may have seen a recent video I did on this knife, which is an Arthur Wright knife. These are all Arthur Wright knives, and as I said, I had been encouraged to give them another go, having had a Barlow of theirs, which wasn't bad, and I got this one, and actually I was quite pleased with it. It's certainly a cut above this Senator that I've had for a while, which I was distinctly unimpressed with. And it certainly is rather better than this, although I actually quite like this. This is a real budget knife from them, but actually not a bad knife. But anyway, as I was giving them another go, I went for another horn-handled knife, and it was this one. Now this is it's a horn-handled spear point. Now it's a bit rubbed here. Now I don't know if that's happened with me or whether it came like that. Now, in terms of figuring, I've always said, the other one that I had, the other horn one I had from them, the figuring was a bit rubbish, really. It's very little to see. I mean, compared to this horn from Taylor's Eyewitness, where there's, just so much going on in there. It's just really nice. But I thought I'd give them another go. Now, this one, there's a bit of a honey glow to it, a bit of translucence. Unfortunately, as I say, it's got scratch. Now, I don't know if it's got scratch since I've had it or whether it came like that. I really can't say. But it's, with that fairly bright light on it, you can start to see a bit of figuring in the horn, which is quite nice, and a bit of a sort of honey, got a glow to it. Now, this is a twin blade spearpoint penknife. It's got file work on the back. I think the file work on the back does look just a bit crude and rough, a little bit caveman-like, which is a shame because this file work that's Arthur Wright may not be necessary to my taste, but the execution's pretty good. And this, which is probably more chisel work than file work, again, I think it's quite nicely executed, it's attractive. None of them are as well done as Taylor's Eyewitness like this, which I think is really nicely done. This just looks a bit like somebody just randomly cut chunks out with the file. It does follow all the way around, which is, I can't see, the light on it isn't great, I'm afraid. And it also goes right up into the blade, or blades. And you also have, which they do tend to do quite well, is on the liners, you can probably see that, the little file work on the liners all the way around, which, as I say, they do, they seem to do quite a lot of. It reminds me of the file work on this Taylor's Eyewitness penknife, though it's better done on the Taylor's Eyewitness. But, again, there's a question of price points. So, let's get this knife opened up. Now, Arthur Wright, I don't know what they're on about, what they're trying to achieve, but the actions on the knives are possibly stiff. Now, I don't know, there's some contradictions in this knife. I mean, it's nice premium materials. Unfortunately, it's a carbon steel blade, which I know collectors like, but I don't particularly, because I like my knives to be nice and shiny. The finish on it, though, is a satin, when they're perfectly capable of a pretty good high polish. But this is a fairly rough satin finish, not especially even. As I say, they've kept that file work into the blade, but it doesn't, unlike a Taylor's, it doesn't flow into the blade with the same pattern continuing. You have the same pattern, but it doesn't continue into the blade. You've got a sort of flat spot on the handle, and the two springs don't even match one to the other. And then it comes into this. Now this file work isn't rounded and smooth, again like the Tailor's Eyewitness. The file work here is all nice and rounded and smooth, so it feels nice under your fingers. On this, it just feels sharp, which isn't very attractive. So it might look spectacular, but it doesn't really work in a spectacular fashion. In terms of how big this knife is, compare it to my old Swiss Army knife, yeah? It's fairly sort of what you might call standard pocket knife size. So that's a 93mm Swiss Army knife. In terms of crude numbers, we are talking about 2 7/8 inch blade with a 2.5 inch cutting edge, overall 6.5 inches. So it's a fairly sort of standard sized knife. I mean, I always talk about the Swiss Army being a 93mm knife, and this is roughly the same 93mm or thereabouts handle. Everything else I do in inches. I don't know why, but there we are. It's me just being difficult. So anyway, we've got this pen blade. We have a tang stamp on the pen blade, which says A. Wright and Sons Limited, Sheffield. Nice and clear, distinct, straight, even. You know, I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. So this is the knife I decided I was going to keep. I didn't just send it straight back, which I did with a number of the knives that came in at the same time. But it's a bit on the crude side. It's nice, but not perfect. And the action is horrendously stiff. Now, I don't know, you could say it's good, it's a man's pull and all that nonsense, but I just think it's just overly stiff. There's also a bit of a crack around the pivot pin there. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's difficult to know how clear this comes out until I look at it on a big screen. I'm looking at it through the viewfinder, but it's just a wee crack there. I don't think it's likely to come to anything else. This would be a perfectly usable knife. I think the only thing that puts me off using it as a user knife is that sharpness to the file work on the back of the blade. As well as the main spear point, there is also a pen. And again, that's tough. Perfectly usable pen blade. Again, you've got the file work going right up into it. It's the same. Again, oops, I'm not showing you in the camera. I'm holding it the same. So yeah, the file work kind of stops and starts rather than flowing one into the other. It goes right up to the tip of the blade, which I'm not sure is necessary or attractive. You know, if anything, it just perhaps weakens the tip of the knife a little bit. And again, it's quite sharp, not particularly attractive. And you've got a satin finish blade. No tang stamps on this blade. It's just a secondary blade. For a traditional knife, it's got a relatively stout pattern, not desperately thin behind the edge. I mean, compared to a lot of knives it is, but compared to many traditionals, it's not so much. And again, of course, it follows the Arthur Wright tradition of being blunt when supplied. Also, something I haven't mentioned about Arthur Wright knives, which I should do, they come wrapped in a piece of plastic. They don't even have a box. You know, Rogers knives and Wilson home knives come in little boxes like this, nothing particularly special, but at least they've got a box. These ones come just wrapped in a piece of plastic. And there's nothing to show you. I mean, I've thrown it in the bin, but it's just like a bit of, almost like cling film with a sticker on it, which is just, you know, when you're paying 50, 60 pounds for a knife, you really expect a bit better than that, I think, you know. Anyway, so if you like this knife, if you find my chat remotely interesting, then please feel free to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Yeah, I'm slightly worried about this, why this horn has got so badly scratched. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that when it arrived, but it's got that way so very quickly, and all it's done is sat in a green baize lined drawer, so it's not it's not got rough treatment. So anyway, there we are. That's an Arthur Wright knife, and thank you all for watching. See you next time. Bye.